Hey everybody, it is Saturday morning, December 16th, 2017, 2 weeks in a row. 2 weeks in a row. Do I detect a trend? It's going to be a unique video today because I want to follow up on the medical challenge reference that I made last week. And I also want to reset the mind, the brain, which has more than one meaning. You'll find out about that shortly. And set the stage for next year. And talk about how I'm going to approach it as a trader and how we're going to take this blog back to the basics, 2008, and we'll go there shortly. But if you can bear with me for a minute, I want to follow up on the health issues I talked about last week in the spirit of full transparency, in the spirit of also trying to help you if you are experiencing something similar to me or vice versa, the way this works, right? Full circle. So I have been dealing over the past quarter with some significant health issues, stress-related for the most part, one of which has left a permanent mark with me, which I will have most likely as long as I walk this earth. And it is along the lines of what is referred to as tinnitus. Now, some people will call this tinnitus, and that's okay. Most in the medical community will refer to it as tinnitus. Tinnitus is, I believe, how it is spelled. This has been a new event in my life, something that I am still getting used to. And so let's talk about that a little bit. What is it? What is it? It is what many people, it is the term that defines what many people will call ringing in the ears. Except it's really not ringing in the ears, it's ringing in the brain. Because what happens is that there are neurons that are firing in the brain that are resulting in the sense of sound which does not exist. And I don't want to get all science on you, and this is not intended at all to be a woe is done attitude this morning, because there's actually some good things that are coming out of this. But suffice it to say that it is something that is not curable. It is something that can be moderated, mitigated, and things along those lines. But it's something I'm still getting used to. So, how does this happen? How does it? What's the cause? It can be a number of many things. And by the way, I'm sure the minute I start talking about this, many of you are going to be saying, "Oh, wait a minute, I've got that as well," because there are. The more I've learned about this, the more I know now that there are 40 million people, 40 million, 40, in this country alone that have this to some degree or another. It's very, very common. It's like when you buy a new car, all of a sudden you're looking, on the road and you see all sorts of cars that look just like yours. So anyway, back to what can cause this sort of thing. A number of things can happen. I'm 56 years old, so I'm not immune to the natural aging process. And nor am I immune to, for all of you who were telling me to slow down over the past 1, 2, 3 decades, this type A should have heeded your words, because I got myself in a bit of a cycle. But so how can this happen? It can happen through the aging process. It can happen through loss of hearing, because actually what happens when you lose your hearing as a result of age or exposure to loud noise or people that come back from service duty, what happens is that the ear is no longer sending the signal to the brain. The brain doesn't hear anything. The brain wants to make up its own stuff. Essentially, that's what happens. Nature abhors a vacuum. So that's one way that this happens. Exposure to drugs, recreational, non-recreational, prescription, alcohol, especially in excess, but even in moderation over a period of time, can do some damage both to both the ear cells and to the part of the brain that registers the sounds. If you've ever had one of those nights, where you're more than a little tipsy and you're spinning around, that's because stuff's going on up in here, and you normally recover from that and that sort of thing. But again, there can be multiple causes that lead you to this point. So anyway, that's what I'm dealing with right now on a permanent basis. Everything else seems to have passed okay. I'm actually in very good health. But this is a part of my life now that it's getting used to. Not all that unlike my daughter, Chelsea, that, as many of you know, has type 1 diabetes, where she, at a very young age, had to get used to living a life, living her life a certain way, and adapted to that very well. Now I have to do the same thing here. I have to adapt to this. Again, there is no cure. There are a lot of technologies. There's a lot of science that's now built around this. I don't know if I have it handy here, but I actually have. I just became a member of the American Diabetes Association that we did all the work for. That we worked with, we partnered with, we provided a portion of the educational proceeds from everything that we've done to them, especially in the early on days. So just like the American Diabetes Association, there is a American Tinnitus, I did get the spelling right, association that I'm now a part of. And by the way, we will be directing charitable funds that come out of any of the educational efforts. The charity piece will be diverted to this for at least the foreseeable future. So anyway, there's a lot of stuff that's going on here. There's a lot of research. There has been no cure per se found, but there are a lot of things that can be done. And there's a lot of old wives' tales on the internet too. So you got to filter out what's important and what's not, just like the sound in your brain, right? But there are certain chemicals and herbs that may have an effect. Which is arguable. There's also a lot of technology in play now where, and especially there's a center in London that has this technology. In fact, you can even get it on an app on your phone now where it looks at your brain like a keyboard, right? And what happens is the keys are of multiple frequencies, and there's a single key or maybe a couple of keys that just get stuck, and that's the sound that you're hearing. So there's technology that is out there that will kind of fool the brain a little bit. It'll play some tones on this side, and then it will play some tones on this side. And what happens is, from what I understand anyway, the brain gets a little numb to that signal that you're always hearing, and it diverts its attention. And it's kind of like having white noise, but ramped up to a scientific degree where it's actually triggering some differences in the brain. And so. Again, I probably know enough just to be dangerous about it, but I've been through ear, nose, and throat specialists in the medical community route. I've been through the audiologist route, which is kind of how they suggest you do this on multiple paths so that you can gain a sense for how your hearing really is, versus if there's anything significant like a tumor, that kind of thing that might be leaning on something that might be causing that to, okay, we've ruled out all the big stuff. Now this is what is left over, and you can't tell someone really well. You just got to deal with it because it's not going to go away, even though that's the case. But there's a lot of techniques and tricks and technology pouring into this, and so there certainly remains hope that people can live normal lives and manage themselves, and that's kind of where I'm at right now. I have adjusted to it. I hear it. The best way to describe it would be to take your fire alarm in your house and that shrill signal that goes off and tone it down maybe 50%. Maybe 50%. So it's still loud, it's still annoying, but it's not deafening, but it's there and it's annoying. And so that's what I hear. And it's about the 10,000 hertz frequency. Am I saying that right? The hertz or megahertz? Not sure. Because you can hone in actually on exactly what it is, and then try some of this other technology stuff. So anyway, I don't want to turn this into a complete medical update, but I want to share that with you. I certainly appreciate any correspondence. I know I'm certainly aware of all the suggestions, the ginkgo biloba, the magnesium, the homeopathy, which I practiced over my life, which actually saved my life as a teenager out of a virus years ago. To a lot of holistic approaches, chiropractor, acupuncture, and it seems what works for one person may not exactly work for another person. So we've got to be a little careful there. But anyway, I wanted to share that with you. So I appreciate your understanding, support on why I've been a little bit on my own. I want to express my apologies to the Trading After Dark community that I had to really turn off as I was dealing with this and other issues at that time. But the good news is that it's made me do a reset. It's made me do a reboot. I could look back at this last year and this last quarter in particular and saying, work myself up into a lather, look at all these opportunities, and because of appointments and this and that, and focus wasn't there. Or I can use this to say, great, there's some things I've learned here that can make me an even better trader in the coming years, and I believe that to be the case, and I don't think I'm fooling myself. Maybe I am, but I really do believe that there continue to be such great opportunities. I look at this past week, which I had my good days. Thursday was not a particularly good day for me. I got a little bit aggressive on the long side a day early, but traded very well yesterday, and am doing more work with options. So, I continue to believe that this is a business that is all about focus, and absent of distractions. And I know Dr. Brett talks a lot about that, and it's something that with now this, it's really set that in my mind in terms of needing to be focused on what you're doing. The social media exposure, even the multiple. I mean, what do we have? Bitcoin futures now, right? Bitcoin futures now. I think I just read somewhere that TD Ameritrade is actually going to start them on Monday through the CBOE. Am I saying that right? So all this, it's so easy to get distracted. And one of the things that this whole thing taught about me was that, I've been pulling myself in multiple directions, multiple paths, trying to play Superman, the result has been suboptimal, and the result actually had health consequences. So the good news is it's made me take a step back and look at, okay, where does trading fit into my life? Where does this blog fit into my life? Where do the formal educational efforts fit into my life? Where does my non-market business fit into my life? And it certainly, I hope, put me in a better place going into 2018. So I'm going to get this effort for anyone who cares, right? I'm going to go back to 2008. I don't care if nobody reads it. Right? I'm going to do more journaling. I'm going to try to be fairly consistent with it. I'm going to do more journaling on my site. Go back, for those of you that knew this, go back to the top left menu, original blog, go back to the early 2008, 2009 periods. It was a journal, it was a trading journal. We've done, I still think, at least based on feedback, that we've done a lot of good things with the educational efforts, the mentoring, the live stuff, the book, could all of that have been improved? Of course. But at the time, the best that we have, and still very relevant today. The new work now we're doing with options. By the way, Peter, Shadow Trader, you guys continue to do great stuff there. Keep it up. Keep it up. We got to get together one of these days. The Bryant connection, right? So incorporating some stuff at this end, taking the best of the best. There's several of you. What I'm going to be doing as I go into next year is I'm going to have a very limited network that just keep me going, and I'll still make myself available as time permits. But please understand that I've got to be focused at this end. So to all of the folks, Don, Kim, Peter, I could list a number of names, Nirav, a lot of you folks that either we interact with on a continuous basis or that we just share each other's Twitter feeds. I don't follow many folks, and some of the folks you see I may follow, you may wonder why. But you've all got little pieces. I think I'm like 6 or 7 right now. There's a trading coach, Jim, sports psychologist, all great stuff, positive stuff. And so there's value there. You just got to be able to filter out. I don't know how you guys trade that are actually following Twitter during the day and following like 1,000 people or 3,000. I mean, how do you do that? But anyway, I'm going to be going forward in my own trading community with a very tight knit circle. And at times that may be a circle of 1 or 2 or 3 at a time. But if there's one error I made, and I recall probably, 8 years ago maybe, when I've always promoted self-sufficiency. I don't even know if you're around anymore listening. If you are, ping me. And you made the comment that you disagreed with me. and as a Christian, you didn't disagree with me, because I was saying that what I want to do is I want to promote self-sufficiency so that you were never dependent upon another source or person. My point was that you didn't have to be in a situation where you're paying someone always for advice, that you could learn this on your own, teach them how to fish, and then go fish. Okay. But where I did err, clearly, back then, is that this is not about living life in a vacuum. This is about a spirit of togetherness to an extent where it doesn't interfere with the results, and that the sum of the many, is larger than the sum of one. So it's that mastermind principle. It's doing that effectively, but still having that self-confidence where you understand, if you're a master carpenter, you're a master carpenter, right? You don't need someone to go in continually tell you where to nail the hammer the nail. You don't do that. You've got the confidence, and that's always been my point. But I think I swung it too far, and so the sense of community certainly is very important in life, and I've been reminded of that here as I've gone through. One of the benefits in living in New England is that I've got access to just incredible medical community, and I know other folks do around the world. You've got, L.A., Chicago, Dallas. There are great hospitals all over the place. New England, Boston has its own, and Mass Eye and Ear in particular has been real healthy. You can go online, you can see a day-long seminar online of tinnitus and all the experts that they brought in and that kind of thing. So. Anyway, I'm committed to morphing my trading back into a journaler. I think we've got tremendous opportunities in the market. I do have a tool that I'm using that I'm continuing to tweak with my programmer, and it is allowing me to focus in on the market and ride moves for longer periods of time where I've never been able to. I've always been really good at the inefficiencies, fairly good at it anyway, good enough to make a pretty good living off of it. But adding to that, the ability to get the turn and hold point, which has been one of my challenges over the years. I've got a signal that I'm working with that is very, very clear to me, very, very strong. I love the visual application of it. It allows me to use a little bit less of this and a little bit more of this. So anyway, we'll share more of that. Still use all the tools, the techniques, the tricks that are all in the live jelly stuff and the webinars, all that. That's still good, valid. The business never changes. We change. Yeah, there are computers out there, there are algos out there. There's less of the immediate human emotion. There's more noise in the 1 minute charts. There's more flush that final person out before there's a lot of that bullshit going on, excuse me. But the business is still the same. And we've got to adapt to that. Go back to the whole jellyfish concept, right? Adapt to the markets, adapt to who you are, adapt to what the market is doing. That's always been the intent of a trader, and it's applying that. The missing inches, the Al Pacino missing inches speech, which is still linked on this site somewhere, motivational videos, right? I could look back and look at a lot of the missing inches over the past quarter. I'm not going to. I can't. I'm looking ahead. I am where I am. I am where God put me. In whatever my condition might be. I still have the energy. I want to do some things next year that are just off the chart. So I'm taking my Q4 goals, turning them into Q1 goals, throwing the last quarter in the wastebasket in terms of opportunity, and moving forward. So again, if you're watching this, clearly, there's a reason that you've gotten some value out of my yakking over the years, or you just, you have other intentions, and that's okay too. God bless you. I love this business. I love this industry. For those of you that have been part of my community, even if it's just been a phone call over the past many, many years, I appreciate you. I apologize for those times where I haven't been able to give you 100% of my time and focus and effort. But I want to continue to use these sorts of vehicles where I can reach a lot of people, and manage my time as well, which is very, very important. So again, If you get anything from this, great. I'm really, really, really looking forward to accomplishing what I meant to accomplish last quarter in this coming quarter. At least what they say, shoot for the stars, you at least hit the moon. And that's what I believe life is about. So God bless you during this holiday season. I pray that you are able to live and share your lives with others in a blessed way. I have been very, very fortunate in my life to have been given opportunity, to have been given the chance to risk, the chance to fall flat on my face, the chance to rebound. Anything that I do, anything that I accomplish is despite my own humanity and all through the grace of God. I don't know what next year will hold for me, but I know what I'm driven to, and we'll see where we go from there. So again, if you're going to be part of that, I embrace that, welcome that. You'll see some tweaks in the journal going forward. So anyway, I will just leave you with that. Have a great, great weekend, and we will catch you very soon.